June 23, 2023. Andover, Hampshire. On the surface, it was just another quiet British street. New street, modest flats, ordinary lives. The kind of place that never expects to make headlines. But behind one closed door, something unthinkable had already happened. Blood stained the floor. A body lay hidden beneath a blanket. And somewhere nearby, a phone camera switched on. Hours later, a TikTok video appeared online. "I've been a bad girl." No tears, no panic, just performance. This wasn't a crime of sudden rage. It was violence staged for attention, a murder framed for an audience. Here, we uncover the cases where online personas collapse and digital fame collides with real-world consequences. Tonight, we step into a disturbing reality where likes become lethal, validation turns toxic, and screens can't hide the truth forever. These weren't fictional villains. They were influencers, streamers, content creators, people who chased attention and found prison instead. Our first case is one of the most chilling modern crimes Britain has ever witnessed. Case 1, Winter Swan Miller, age 36, June 23, 2023. Andover, Hampshire. Winter Swan Miller wasn't famous, but she wanted to be seen. Online, she presented herself as quirky, eccentric, a dog sitter sharing fragments of her life with a small TikTok audience. Her white Pomeranian Oblivion was the center of her world, and eventually the center of her downfall. Behind the screen, Winter lived with 62-year-old Stuart Crocker, an Army veteran, quiet, reserved, and by all accounts, vulnerable. What began as tension between housemates slowly twisted into obsession. When Winter's dog escaped one day, something snapped. In her mind, Stuart wasn't just responsible, he was guilty. And guilt demanded punishment. In the early hours of June 23rd, Winter picked up a knife. She stabbed Stuart 27 times. Neck, chest, abdomens. The attack didn't stop when he fell. When the knife wasn't enough, she strangled him with a handbag strap. A brutal, sustained assault on a man who never stood a chance. After it was over, Winter didn't run. She didn't cry. She didn't call for help. She cleaned. She wiped surfaces, covered his body with a blanket, placed an electric fan behind his head, a chilling attempt to slow decomposition. Then she did something no one could understand. She went into town, bought breakfast at McDonald's, and posted on TikTok. Calm, smiling, detached. "I've been a bad girl," she told her followers. She even added that she didn't feel she'd done anything wrong. For 5 days, Stuart Crocker lay decomposing in that flat. Neighbors eventually reported a smell. When police entered the property, they found more than just a body. They found handwritten notes left by Winter mocking detectives, calling them pigs, daring authorities to catch her. CCTV and phone data traced her movements across the country. She was arrested in Birmingham on June 30th. During questioning, Winter claimed self-defense. She alleged sexual assault. The court found no evidence to support it. Instead, the judge concluded something far darker. That control and manipulation flowed from her to him, not the other way around. At Winchester Crown Court in August 2024, Winter Swan Miller was found guilty of murder, along with 2 counts of fraud for using Stuart's bank card after his death. The judge described her as highly manipulative, driven by notoriety rather than remorse. Sentence, life imprisonment, minimum 23 years. In court, Stuart Crocker's son delivered a statement that silenced the room. He called Winter a malevolent entity, and for the first time since his father's death, his family said they could finally breathe. This case shook Britain. Commentators called it a murder staged for the algorithm, a warning about what happens when online validation replaces humanity. Because Winter didn't just kill a man, she turned death into content, but her story was only the beginning. While Winter killed for control, the next influencer risked everything, not for rage, but for luxury. Case 2, Madu Adams, age 25, September 30th, 2023, Lima, Peru. At Jorge Chávez International Airport, a young British traveler waited calmly in the security line. Designer backpack, phone in hand, TikTok open. His name was Madu Adams, a London-based influencer who built an online image of effortless success. Los Angeles sunsets, luxury clothes, Machu Picchu selfies. To his followers, Madu wasn't hustling, he was living. But when Peruvian customs officers opened his suitcase, the fantasy collapsed. Hidden inside a false compartment were nearly 3 kilograms of high-purity cocaine. In an instant, a lifestyle influencer became an international drug trafficker. Prosecutors revealed this wasn't a one-off mistake. They believe Adams had already smuggled cocaine out of Peru earlier that year using the same method, a specially modified suitcase lined with a concealed metal pouch. The payoff? Between £5,000 and £6,000 per trip, plus expenses. Easy money. Fast rewards. When confronted, witnesses described Adams as shocked, almost theatrical. But prosecutors later argued it wasn't surprise. It was performance. Within hours, Adams confessed. Peru's justice system moves fast. The next morning, he stood before a judge. No filters, no flexing, no confidence. Just a young man suddenly smaller than the persona he had sold to thousands. He pleaded guilty to illicit drug trafficking. Sentence, 6 years and 8 months in prison plus a fine. Peru's Supreme Court later posted his mugshot online, a deliberate warning to others chasing influencer fantasies through crime. British media exploded with coverage. Comparisons were drawn to infamous past cases, but what struck people most wasn't the drugs. It was the psychology. Investigators said Adams lived 2 lives, perfection online, deception offline. Today, he remains imprisoned in Peru. His TikTok feed frozen in time. No more travel videos. No more luxury captions. Just silence. Because in the end, the pursuit of a perfect image cost him the one thing no filter can restore: freedom. While Madu Adams chased luxury through deception, the next man didn't want money at all. He wanted belief, control, and influence over minds. Case 3, Hamza Alam, age 22, June 2022, East London. In a quiet bedroom in Chadwell Heath, a young man spent night after night illuminated only by his phone screen. No crowds, no camera crews, just endless scrolling, posting, deleting, reposting. His name was Hamza Alam. To the people around him, he was unremarkable, quiet, reserved, forgettable. But online, under anonymous aliases, he was building something dangerous. A network. On TikTok and Telegram, Alam curated and distributed extremist propaganda linked to ISIS. Execution footage, public floggings, calls to violence, all carefully packaged for the algorithm. When police later questioned him, Alam tried to downplay it. He said he was an online librarian, an archivist, a collector of information. But investigators uncovered the truth. Hamza wasn't observing extremism. He was amplifying it. As an administrator of encrypted Telegram channels, he redistributed propaganda with intent. On TikTok, he disguised his face while posting short, polished videos praising violent jihad, clips that pulled in tens of thousands of views and more than 31,000 likes. One video celebrated the 9/11 attackers as modern martyrs. Another called for revenge against Jewish communities following the Gaza conflict. This wasn't ignorance, it was ideology. Counterterrorism officers tracked his digital footprint across platforms and borders, coded usernames, hidden folders, encrypted archives. In June 2022, police raided his home. They seized phones and hard drives containing hundreds of extremist files, meticulously organized. Despite overwhelming evidence, Alam remained calm during interviews, detached, almost bored. Prosecutors said this wasn't curiosity, it was conviction. At Woolwich Crown Court in July 2024, Hamza Alam was found guilty of 3 counts of disseminating terrorist publications and 1 count of encouraging terrorism. Sentence, 5 years total, 4 in custody, 1 on license. "You were not educating," the judge told him. "You were radicalizing." The case reignited a national debate, not about distant battlefields, but about how extremism now hides in plain sight. Not in training camps, but in the endless scroll of a phone. Because radicalization doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. While Alam used ideology as a weapon, the next influencer used something far more personal. Case 4, Holly Hansen, aka writer. Age 27, September 2nd, 2023. Manchester. Police officers sat in silence as they listened to an audio recording. A woman's voice, panicked, gasping, pleading, begged for her life. The voice belonged to Lauren J., just 22 years old. The attacker was her long-term partner, a TikTok influencer known online as Writer. Real name, Holly Hansen. To nearly 26,000 followers, Hansen appeared confident, charismatic, and bold. But behind the camera was 5 years of calculated control. Lauren was only 17 when it began. Hansen isolated her from friends and family, demanded access to her phone, her passwords, every message, every post. Jealousy turned into surveillance. Surveillance turned into imprisonment. The violence escalated. In 2020, Hansen smashed a vodka bottle over Lauren's head, knocking her unconscious, then slashed her leg. Months later, during another argument, Hansen poured petrol over Lauren's boots and set them alight, melting clothing onto her skin. When Lauren gave birth to their son, the abuse didn't stop. At just 2 weeks old, the baby's clothes were burned in another jealous rage. He wanted to erase every part of me, Lauren later told police. The final attack came in September 2023. Hansen pinned Lauren to the bed and strangled her while making death threats. But Lauren did something extraordinary. She hid her phone, and she pressed record. That recording saved her life. When police arrested Hansen after 18 days on the run, investigators discovered something chilling. Hansen had been posting TikTok videos while hiding in strangers' homes. No remorse, no fear. At Leeds Crown Court in early 2025, Hansen pleaded guilty to 5 serious offenses, including intentional strangulation, coercive control, wounding with intent, and threats to kill. Sentence, 4 years in prison, plus 3 years on extended license. An indefinite restraining order now protects Lauren. In her victim statement, she said, "I thought I was recording my death." Her courage sparked a national conversation, especially within the LGBTQ+ community, about abuse hidden behind curated perfection. Because control is not love, and silence is never safety. While Hansen's cruelty unfolded behind closed doors, the final case exploded in public, live, chaotic, and completely fabricated. Case 5, Dimitry Stoker, age 23, August 7, 2024, Derby, England. Just after 10 p.m., a young man sprinted down Normanton Road, phone shaking in his hand. He was live on TikTok. "They're chasing me," he shouted. "The rioters are after me." His name was Dimitry Stoker. For over 700 live viewers, the fear looked real. Heavy breathing, frantic movement, panicked screams. At a time of national tension, the stream spread fast. Within minutes, police control rooms were flooded with calls. Shops shut their shutters. Families locked doors. But when officers arrived, they found no riots. Just Stoker standing calmly under a streetlight, still yelling into his phone. He confessed instantly. It was just a joke that caused citywide panic. Prosecutors called it the digital equivalent of shouting, "Fire," in a crowded theater. At Nottingham Magistrates' Court, Stoker pleaded guilty to sending a false communication with intent to cause harm, a new offense under the Online Safety Act 2023. Sentence, 3 months in prison plus compensation. Public reaction was divided. Some called it harsh, others called it necessary. The judge was clear. With the power of social media comes responsibility. Stoker's TikTok account was suspended, his final livestream frozen mid-laugh. And in the silence that followed, the truth became impossible to ignore. In the digital age, even a joke can cause real fear, and a few seconds of attention can destroy credibility forever. From obsession to ideology, from exploitation to dangerous misinformation, These were not isolated incidents. They were shaped, accelerated, and rewarded by digital systems built on engagement. Different faces, different platforms, the same outcome. When attention outweighs accountability, the damage is real. Courtrooms, prison sentences, families left to rebuild what was destroyed. This is the reality behind the scroll, where performance meets consequence. If you value fact-driven crime stories exploring the intersection of social media and justice, subscribe for more. Because in a world where anyone can go viral, very few consider the price.